Welcome to Magnet Marketers, our weekly live show where we break down the head, heart, and hand approach to building sustainable growth in your business. During each episode, we share actual client marketing best practice examples, strategies, and tactics that will help you generate real results. Our belief? A magnet always works better than being a bullhorn to attract, retain, and build your brand. Ready to dive into this week's Relationship Marketing Training Tuesday? Well, let's get started. Here's your host, Mike Gingerich and Jessika Phillips.
Yeah. Hello, and happy Tuesday. Even though I'm pretty sure most of it feels like a Monday after coming off that holiday weekend, but nonetheless, we're excited to be here for Magnet Marketers Training Tuesday, ready to dive into an exciting topic today: HR. Delivering HR without an HR department, no matter if you're a small business or a large organization, there is some tools that can help you along the way to build that sustainability with your team and advocacy. But we'll dive into all the juiciness of this topic here in just a moment with our special guest, Fiona. But before we introduce her, if we've not met before, hello, my name is Jessika Phillips with Now Marketing Group and the Relationship Marketing System. My personal mission is to help you love more, give more, and be more through the art of authentic relating. And my awesome co-host, it's Mike Gingerich. He's the president of a web development and software firm, Digital Hill Multimedia, published author 5 times over, triathlete, runner, biker, blogger, leading business blogger at MikeGingerich.com. How's it going, Mike?
Hey, Jessika, I'm doing well, and it's good to be back, and it's good to have Fiona with us. Looking forward to today's topic. How about you, Jessika?
I am. I have some personal experience with this, so
all right.
I can't wait for you to introduce Fiona.
Without further ado, then, let me introduce our guest today. This is Fiona Adler. She is a long history of working with small, medium-sized businesses, creating and building the online solutions that have helped them operate in the best way possible. She's passionate about small, medium-sized business, so she's in the right place with us here. And she wants them to get the tools, the know-how to grow, streamline their operations. We all need that. With a background in strategic business consulting and an MBA, Fiona knows how important the human resource function is. And today we're going to dive into that more. She's proud to be the director of HR Partner. You're going to learn more about that today. An online HR system for small and medium-sized businesses. Welcome, Fiona.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here with you both.
Excellent. Now, I guess, Fiona, maybe I'll just kind of jump in and say, I often hear about, HR departments for larger entities, but many small, medium-sized businesses say, wow, an HR department, I don't know if we can do that or if we have. So I'm sure you get that. So how do you respond to that and kind of outline the importance or the breadth of what HR function is?
Yeah, look, I think the HR function is something that is often left until organizations get to a bigger size. And whether that's, 20 people, I was just talking to a client recently, and she was brought on as the HR person when they only had 4 people. And that was the most extreme I've heard. But often it can be like even 200 people before they really hire someone dedicated towards HR. But nonetheless, it's still looking after your team is one of the most important things you can do as an organization. I mean, just by definition, unless you really invest in the team, it's really a group of, or it's an individual sort of thing, just pushing and pushing and pushing. And it's the true leaders that can recognize that they're going to go a lot further if they can harness, the various different qualities and intelligence and experience and motivation of all of the greater team. And, that's, there's a lot of facets to doing that, of course, but just the whole awareness that it does need to be done, and it's a part of building and running a business or any organization, really.
Yeah. And I think many people don't think about HR in the sense that you just described, like it's showing up for your team and it's essential for running your business. So I'm familiar with HR Partner. I'd like you to introduce what it is here in just a second. But for me, it was more, and why we kind of dove into this is that it was just what you said, like investing in your team and showing up and showing people that you care within your organization to make sure that there's consistency and clarity in what you're providing, that you have some unity in communications and policy, even though that's not always fun. But we found, and why this is a topic for magnet marketers talking about marketing, that this is a direct reflection on the culture and how we were able to build and nurture our culture, because we believe that all great marketing starts from the inside out. And I was just blown away with what just tweaking a little thing, like having a policy and a program in place, could do for our marketing versus just having some old PDFs that, were the staples that you could just provide and kind of rinse and repeat, if you will, to everyone within the corporation and the organization. So first, as we dive into this, can you explain what HR partner is first?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I think you're so right. Sometimes it's just, you don't even need to do a whole lot to make a big difference. There's just little things. Well, there's lots of little things, but even just doing a handful of them can really move the needle in terms of team morale and spirit, really. But yeah, HR partner, it was started actually by my business partner. So he was doing some consulting to small and medium businesses, in-person consulting in Australia. And he realised that, so many of them had the same need. He was actually primarily consulting in sort of accounting systems, but then they would talk to him about, well, we need to report all of this stuff about our employees. We've got all these employees that don't know how much leave they've got. We haven't got a process for onboarding new employees, or just lots of different things that they all had the same needs. So he actually went ahead and built a fully fledged system. He sort of had this vision of a simple, user-friendly system that would be suitable for small and medium-sized organisations, that would do all the basic stuff, the employee records, whether that's just housing their contracts or storing information like their date of birth, their next of kin contact details, addresses, the training courses they've done, the licenses they might have that are expiring, managing all their leave. And that's a big thing just in itself, like all of the leave requests, leave approvals, how much leave, have I got, just having a way that automates that and stops all of those back and forwards emails that are just really inefficient. Even recruiting, like for small and medium businesses, if they're really small, perhaps they're only recruiting once a year, but once they start doing that a few times a year, that can get really inefficient to be managing that through an email system, basically. So just building that in as well, and onboarding checklists, offboarding checklists. So having all of that in place. There's more things, I guess, like forms, just having in place company news, expense claims, e-signature documents, like even things like an org chart, just having it automatically, built so that you can see where everyone fits in the organisation. The leave calendar, birthdays, and having an employee portal so that employees can log in and have all that information themselves and not feel like that's kind of kept from them in some way, and they can see all of their colleagues in an employee directory and give them the tools to sort of self-service for a lot of these things.
Yeah, bringing together a lot of pieces that oftentimes were disparate, spread out all over the place. I was just thinking about the difference between like your, original employee contract, which you are not going to visit on a regular basis, versus a, we'll just say expenses, right? So
expense
something
claims,
that's the expense claim. So something that you're going to be out traveling, you need to expense something, show that report. So pulling all those things together in the portal, one place, all the above.
And that's what people want, though, because they don't want, there are, in some cases there are, you can get a system that's just for expenses or just for e-signatures, but really people want to just go to one place and get the whole thing and have one login and then not have to remember 15
we have enough
different
logins
ones.
all over the yes.
And that's the other thing, is your logins are in there. So here's why I think it's important, why I've been talking about this more and more with brands, is because especially when everything moved remote, for everyone, then it became crucial, There wasn't, you can just pop in somebody's office or what have you. And plus, we doubled our team last year in a short period of time, and many of them are remote team members.
Yeah.
But even for the people that were local, the benefit of having this, just a plan in place. And granted, while I love HR Partner, and I'm gonna tell you, like, I definitely would recommend it. This isn't a sales pitch for them. It's a saying that putting something in place and why it matters to have this in place, because it directly affects the team culture, which then affects how they're showing up for the team, which affects in your clients, which affects then the repeat referral business and just the overall brand experience. And it's this ripple effect. But some things that made a huge difference were consistency for us. One, with putting in or having a system in place, and it happens to be HR Partner, where we put a system in place that reminded us of reviews, check-ins, when certification was done, and also when somebody renewed it. Now I knew, because now it's all in there. So of course there's like myself and then the managers and then the team members underneath them. But now I'm able to see a holistic view of their one-on-ones. If, you know, they keep their notes in it when they check in, when somebody's renewed their certificates, you know, the team members are able to put in grievances that they have or things that they would like to do, you know, within the company and give feedback. But it was almost just like this holistic, hey, let's have a check-in, but also some organization structure. So everybody was on the same page and you never had any guessing. Like you just said, time off, leave request, you know, who's on vacation, birthdays. The organization, when we brought new team members on, they had the ability to put their bios and things into their profile, to where then now it wasn't just us hearing the name and email. Like you could find out a little bit more personal details about this person in the back end, and the consistency with not just the reviews, but the onboarding, like you suggested. We were able to plug in all the things I would normally do with somebody in person, the training, the paperwork, the whole shebang, and have it as a checklist. So the person, or when we've had remote team members, it's kind of like, okay, no, what do I do next? You know, what do I do next kind of thing. And it was like, well, just, it's all in this drive folder or whatever. Instead, it was like a checklist. And I think it created a sense of personal, like, you know, responsibility, but also some confidence that they knew exactly where to go and how to follow that flow chart, and everybody to be on the same page. And it just had a way faster onboarding process for us, and people just getting into the culture a lot faster than normally would have been if we hired somebody remote without a tool.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you've got a fantastic onboarding, very long, a lot of checklist items, but yeah, I mean, we do too now. I mean, the companies that use it seem to start, you know, very simply with, okay, we need to set them up in this system and that system, and, you know, get them to watch this welcome video and make sure they can do this and that. And then you realize, oh, hang on, they need an email signature. They need this. They need, you know, they may need to meet all of their colleagues. They need to, you know, to set up one-on-ones with them. They might need to, you know, there's just a lot more to it. And the more you do it, the more you just sort of document it and add to it as you bring each new team member on. You just can kind of add to it and grow it. And it just really makes that experience. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, studies out there that show that if you can make the first week really good for a new employee, it has such a, you know, big effect in terms of how quickly they become productive, but also their sort of whole feeling towards the company. And that's, you know, their first impression, which is so important.
It reminds me of a blog post I just recently worked with a partner on, and was talking about the importance. If you want to have innovation in your company, innovation is going to start with employees who feel cared for and secure and like they understand what's going on. So if you know, because you want to have innovation is typically going to come from the team. But if innovation is lacking, they kind of track that down to, you know, kind of gaps, probably, you know, in the HR care process, could have been the onboarding process, those types of pieces there. So because we always think about, you know, perhaps, you know, we think about, you know, HR from a cost perspective, but in this article we talked about it. We talked about innovation, which is often talked about from a profit growing perspective, but traced it back to really an HR function, how someone was feeling cared for and secure, impacted their innovation, their capacity to innovate, which impacted company bottom line ultimately.
Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of sense, really, because if you think of innovation, you need to, it's a risk that you're taking. You don't know how it's going to work out just by definition of, innovating and doing something new. It may not work. So you need to have that security and sort of backing behind you in order to feel safe enough to do that. So some of these hygiene factors are just, just even having a directory of all your colleagues and knowing who you can turn to and who, having that, as you said, a little visual intro to them to see, this is, go and talk to Jeff from finance, and that might be a little bit scary if you've, not a finance person or you've never met this person before, but then you read their bio and you see that, they've got 3 cats and they make pizzas on the weekends or whatever they do. But then you can sort of, it helps just to break down those barriers and get people working together better as well.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Yeah, you just mentioned working better together. And I feel like that's the other thing too, just having a system in place where it creates this consistency. Mike, you nailed it on the head, like creating innovation because people feel like they know what's going on, but also from the outside looking in, from customers' perspective, if everybody's like unified in their approach and it's not like, well, why'd they do that? They're supposed to do this. They're not having a system in place, then it looks a little messy. And for customers or clients kind of looking in at that and saying, nah, they really don't have their stuff together, you lose a little bit of confidence in that company and don't have as much, trust. And sometimes that's where larger organizations sometimes win out against smaller businesses when they feel like they have their stuff together because they have processes in place. But you don't have to be this large, huge organization to have still that in place. You can we started with a Google Doc of literally, here's our process from start to finish. And honestly, that's still what I recommend clients do, at least for their processes. And then figure out how can you reduce friction by including or implementing some tools like this to help you along the way. But that's the big part of it, just getting some consistency in it. And the best time to start is when you have a smaller team because, oh my gosh, I realize now I could have saved so much freaking time and probably headaches for all these, the team members that were coming on and me, feeling like, oh my God, I already showed that or whatever. And they're like, maybe for a minute, and to you it was crystal clear, but maybe I needed to replay it because I didn't get it, right? Like there's so many elements of just having a clear path and training in place and brands laying it out that can be so beneficial, not just to the culture, customer acquisition, retention on all fronts, and just brand, ease, growth and time that they have available overall. But I would love to hear too from you. Like, is there anything that you see companies when they're getting this set up, like maybe best practices or things to avoid that companies are doing?
I think I would almost steer away from that term because I think that's actually where some people get stuck because they sort of, maybe they know a little bit about HR or they know it's this whole, area of study and there's a lot to it, and that is all true. But it can be a blocker when you sort of think, well, I want to do it all and do it properly. So wait till I get time to do it in that way. And then, so right now I'm doing nothing, still nothing. Even things like performance reviews, which they are, I would put them in the category of just, one of the sort of fundamental things that everyone should have in place. And it's hard to do them really well. And there's, lots of different ideas as to how you should do them. But the most important thing is just to do them, right? There's so many companies just that don't do performance reviews and they're sort of like, oh yeah, we should start doing those, but, we haven't yet. So someone like you, as the leader of the company, you can sort of use the system to sort of set the expectations and say, okay, well, we're going to have a performance review with your manager every 6 months or whatever it's going to be. Here's a template that we can use to start and, let's go and do it. And, okay, maybe they're not perfect, but it's like 1,000 times better than not doing them at all. So I think just getting started and doing, incrementally sort of building on whatever you start with.
There we go. Get started, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think on there's sort of some of the process things like that, like performance reviews, one-on-ones. And then there's probably a few just little things that you can do that make a huge difference to the culture and the morale. And I know you, Jessika, you make a big deal of birthdays, right? And that is just, everyone likes to feel special one day a year. And if you have a system that can remind you it's someone's birthday and you have something that you do, it might be, if you're all in the office together, maybe you do have a celebration and morning tea or whatever. But if you're working separately, maybe you've organised a flower delivery, or you just, have everyone record a bit of a video or send a funny GIF, or, just encourage the rest of the team to recognise and focus on this one person just for that day or that, half hour or whatever it might be. That makes a huge difference. The same thing for work anniversaries. Maybe, just to say, oh, did you know it's it's Mike's 5-year anniversary today? Well done, Mike. Think about how far you've come in that time, and whether that's one-on-one or it's publicly done, or I know some companies use that as a reminder to sort of maybe even externally sort of add that to their marketing and sort of say, hey, you want to introduce everyone to Mike, and he does this, and he might be behind the scenes or whatever he is, but it sort of helps customers or potential customers build that trust with the whole organisation and feel like they know you. I mean, that's, at the end of the day, that's who they're buying from, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely agreed.
Yeah, birthdays, work anniversaries. Mm-hmm. Also, I mean, this is not so much to do with the system, but having regular team events of some sort. And again, you do that brilliantly, Jessika. Even again, you can do some fantastic stuff in person, and a lot of remote companies before these times were having retreats and once a year get-togethers in person, which is fantastic. But even without those, you can do lots of things online, like you can do quiz nights or quiz hours or whatever, and Ask Me Anything, where you take it in turn, where someone presents on something, whether it's work-related or not work-related. One company we work with was just doing that. They've got a very diverse set of people from all different countries, so people are just presenting about their country, which is really interesting just in itself, and other people ask questions back and forward, which has just made such a difference to getting people to know each other better. So, learn to cook sort of things, or you can have an exercise challenge that everyone's sort of feeling part of, and doing little things. It seems little, but those things make a disproportional difference to how everyone feels.
Huge difference. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, like, it's when people know the people they're working with and they like the people they work with, then they're much more motivated to do things. We're just sort of a social animal. We sort of want to do things to please each other and to help the team work better together. So the more we can encourage all of that, the better. And it makes good business sense, but as well, it just makes work a lot more fun too, like for everyone.
Amen for that. Like, I love so many things that you just said, and you just hit it. Like, you don't have to be physically together to have like a team huddle or a team fun, and you have to like plan it in. So each month we do so I'm a big proponent of making sure you're taking care of your team physically, mentally, spiritually, like the whole thing, right? So like each month we'll do a team wellness challenge. So like last month was mental health, right? So it was challenging on that, a challenge on, doing something towards your mental health. And we gave like a bunch of ideas, journaling, wellness app, meditation, that kind of thing. This month it's, journey through June. So going to a new trail or beach or something you haven't been to, and doing a step challenge that way, but new adventures. And then each Friday though, we do
what's called the Now We Are We Out. It's a shout out where it's a themed day. So it's like, maybe it's hat day or 80s or whatever. And then there's a team fun question. So like, what's on your bucket list, right? And so we answer that, but then we kind of say like something that's going to get awesome. So like, Mike, you were an amazing host on Magnet Marketers, and so appreciate how you showed up and your creative, emojis that you were holding up in reaction to the stuff that was super creative. And then Fiona, like you just came and shared so much information that helped everyone in our team live stream. Like, so appreciate you. And we would go around and just like quickly just share something about someone that really did something that stood out. And I tell you, that's the best way of like ending our week. Like, we just end on such a high, and some of the stuff you even forget that you've done, but then it becomes ingrained of like this reward, right? Instead of, maybe just hearing so much negative that we self-talk and tell ourselves a lot of times. Now you're hearing like not only this affirmation of how much you're appreciated, but it's in a public way to where everyone sees like we genuinely like care about each other, and you can see like it's the real deal, right? And it's just really helped build that culture, and then also allowed people to get to know each other. So those kinds of things are really, really big. And I really think that is a part of when you think about HR and policy, like those kinds of healthy policies should be in place too when you're thinking about building this. So Victor, I love that you said you're a one-person team, but you're going to be hiring in a little bit. Like, build this now, right? Like what you want things to look like, because that's definitely should be a part of the policy, of what you want to do to make sure your team's physically fit and well and happy, and that you still have fun, working, and it doesn't just become paperwork and family medical leave acts and all the other stuff that people normally think about when they think about HR. But having that, starting from the inside out and building that culture, that's just really HR is having that human resources. That's what it stands for, not paperwork, not policy, but human resources of what you should have.
Exactly.
Makes a big difference. Sorry, we got on a soapbox there, but
no, I love what you said about just sharing so much positive feedback about everyone. And I think there is a certain type of leader that believes that, well, if I give them too much positive feedback, it's going to sort of lower the standards really I'm expecting up here, and it's going to not drive that top performance. But the research actually shows the opposite. It's the more the better we feel about our work, which is we feel better when we get praise and encouragement, the more we rise and we challenge ourselves even further. So it's good for business, and it just feels the right thing to do as well. Although it can be, for the certain types of business owners, I think leaders, it's a change of mindset. I think they're so focused on perhaps just meeting payroll or getting that next sale that is not easy to get to. So it does seem like an impossible step to say, well, no, go and focus on your people, but it's. You need to do both. You need to be constantly investing in the people in order to make the other stuff work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and small businesses are not excluded. Sorry, yeah.
I had dropped the link in the comments on the Facebook page there, Jessica. So I don't have it across the board. You have to make sure that gets across there. But obviously they can go there to find out more about it. Fiona, what's a little bit of maybe the backstory? When did HR Partner form, and how has it evolved?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, my business partner actually started it about 8 years ago when he started consulting. Well, he was doing some other consulting and then realised all of these small and medium businesses had the need for a simple but sort of fully formed HR systems. And he built something for, those handful of clients that he was working physically with. And a couple of years ago, so 3 years ago, we actually met in a mutual Facebook group, actually. So, which was a funny thing, but we were sort of, we started talking about something sort of tangential, and then I started looking into his software and realizing, well, hey, this is actually really good, and there's a lot in here. But he's just focused on building the features that clients were asking for. And anyway, with a lot of toing and froing, we decided to partner up, because I'm sort of more from the business and communication side of the fence. So we thought, that would be a great balance of different skills and abilities and focus. And so we teamed up, or I bought into the business and became a director. And yeah, we've been growing it since then. And, we're very happy to be supporting thousands of clients now. So that's thousands of clients and many, many more employees.
Wonderful.
More to the point. Yeah, so helping and just making it easy for these small businesses to, recruit for new people and bring them on easily, because sometimes that can be a barrier. And, that's the last thing we want. We want it to be super easy to grow your business, and to, if you've, got the need for someone and the means for it, then, it shouldn't be this onerous task that just feels like another headache, another problem to solve. It should, be something that you can do easily and grow. And, we think, small and medium businesses just drive the economies everywhere, really. So it's just such an important part. And we also were very passionate about not pricing it. Pricing it for small and medium businesses as well, because we know they're not buying at enterprise type levels, and that's just
I thought there was a typo.
The reality.
I'm going to be honest, but I wasn't complaining. So
no.
Seriously though, it's been great. And again, this has everything to do with marketing, because it really does help the culture. It's really just this conversation that we've kind of been on this kick all year so far, starting from the inside out, because I feel like that's the only way of building the sustainable long-term growth. It's getting the culture right, starting at the basis, knowing yourself, knowing your building in with your team, starting that momentum, to turn your team members into your evangelists, right? Which then they work with your clients and turn them into advocates. And then those advocates, introduce you to community partners that become collaborators. And it's that momentum flywheel growth that helps you grow that repeat referral business. And just some secrets that I've used, to help Now Marketing Group grow. And I wouldn't have been able to do it. And I honestly can say I do not know how I would have grown the team as fast as we did without a tool in place to help me do it like this. So it was really, really helpful for me. And I've been just sharing the secret with others that have helped me do the same, hopefully for their business, to get something in place to make it a lot easier than running things from Google Docs. Docs, and our office admin, Amber, she is a boss. She's awesome. But we decided, give her a break too, and use something a little bit more streamlined. But, if you guys are listening to this and watching the replay, even want to know more about HR Partner, or a link to the case study of how it worked for us, and then they have other case studies, you can see how it's worked for other brands, and just the steps on which things you should think about to put into place, some ideas that you can put into place for your human resources. Definitely type recap in the comments here. We'll include that in the blog and give you some best practices, again, a link to HR Partner and more info on them and Fiona, as well as the event that's coming up August 11th and 12th, which is Social Media Week Lima. We're going to be talking a lot more on this. We do have all these speakers, except for one, updated on our site for the agenda for August 11th and 12th. You can go to sociallima.com and check that out. It's going to be an in-person event, one of the largest social media conferences in the Midwest, and we're going to be talking all about unfiltered, how to build community in a dark social world, talking about these kinds of things that we should be focusing on, and in depth, and how you can do it for your brand. So I hope you'll check that out. Also, just to kind of end it on a note here, Fiona, like if you were to give any word of wisdom, like one final piece of advice, what would you say to any small, medium-sized business watching this today?
Gosh, that puts me on the spot. One final thing. I would say put in place. Start sharing more information internally. If you've got any sort of a team, maybe if you're working with one or two people, you're still very close enough to them. But once it gets beyond that, you need to start I was going to say a formal process. It doesn't need to be formal, but it's like a calendar reminder once a month to say, let's do a team update. Let's get everyone in a Zoom together. Let's, just formalize it a little bit so everyone knows what's going on. They can hear the vision, hear you speaking about it, hear some feedback from clients if they're not client-facing themselves. That can really go a long way as well. So even if you don't, want to have a system for your HR or anything like that, do something like that will make a huge difference to how your employees feel about their work.
Amen.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Fiona, so much for your time and wisdom and expertise. Always a joy hanging out with you. And you stayed up late with us tonight. It's like 10:30 p.m. your time.
Yes, that's okay. That's fine. Yes, I'm over in France, actually, although I'm Australian, as you can probably hear.
Okay.
But yeah, living in France for the last few years.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, awesome. Well, yeah, you said as long as it wasn't 6:30 a.m., we were good.
No,
so,
that's right.
Stayed away from the a.m. times. Yep, I feel that too. But thank you both. Thank you, Mike, and all of you for tuning in this week to Magnet Marketers, where our goal is always help you become a magnet with your marketing versus being a bullhorn. Again, type the word recap if you want the recap to this show with some creative ideas on how you can implement more human resources into your brand without hiring an HR department. So look forward to seeing you back here next Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week, everyone.
Take care,
Thank you
folks.
very
Thank you,
much.
Fiona.
Bye.